Hi guys, we're doing the BF today. Edward's been doing some work on this. Radiator's out. He's just put a pulley kit on this, balancer wheel and smaller pulleys. And I'm going to wire up this light bar. I'll put a couple of little brackets here. He wants them underneath the bumper bar. So when the bumper bar's on, it'll sit just below the bumper bar. Now we can mount that light bar. I'll just rub those back so they're a bit smooth with a bit of wet and dry. I'll get a bit of paint on these just so they... Righto, let them dry. Might give them a second coat in a second. In the meantime, I've adjusted this just with, it's a 6mm Allen, just to get them adjusted close to the right spot. We can leave them a bit loose as we get the bolts in, but that will mount level and straight. Just obviously get those roughly equidistant from the center so it's balanced. I haven't even measured it, probably should do that. What do we got? Looks good to the eye. 40 and that's 50, so they can go probably 5mm that way to make it 45. I'll do that in a second. Righto, thank you. I probably should have talked a little bit before I painted these and explained what I did with these brackets. I needed a bracket that sat down below the bumper bar to hold the light fitting. This is just aluminium flat plate, and you saw me paint it earlier. I just bent it up. You can see it. I've just loosened off those bolts there behind this bumper bar. I guess absorbing plastic material, and popped a hole in the end of the aluminium bar. Popped the bracket behind that. Let it come down, protrude down below, and in here behind, it's just sort of a bit of a U shape, and I just tech bolted it back up underneath. So that's all I've done there. They are very sturdy. They are not moving at all, so that light bar won't wobble around. It will stay sturdy. I didn't show the making of that. I just did it off camera, but when I was painting it earlier, I just thought I should probably show you a bit about what I did there. Guys, in New South Wales, you need to have the driving lights wired up so that they only activate when the high beam's on. In a BF Falcon, that is your low beam, that is your high beam. So when high beam's on, you also need a switch in the cabin area on the dash somewhere, and that needs to be on. So both the switch needs to be on and the high beam needs to be on to activate the lights. To do that, you have a connector in series so that the switch is on, the high beam's activated, and that connects the power to the relay. Now in this instance, these kits come with a kit with a connector that goes to your high beam, and to get to your high beam you will either need one of these, that one or that one. On a BF Falcon, the part that plugs into the back of the high beam, and it's going to be hard to see, is that I've just pulled that out. That just wiggles out and connects into your high beam. So that piggybacks, that goes into where your connector is, and then that new one goes into the light, and then that one goes back to your switching mechanism or your relay. So that's how that works. Now the only other thing I've got problems with, so that's all sorted out on this particular piece, that goes to your light. Now I think they call that a Deutsch fitting. The only problem is on the other end of the light, I've just got two bare wires. So I'm probably just going to cut that off, and I'll just get a connector that connects the red and the black to the red and the black on the spotlight. The rest of this is fairly easy. There's a positive and a negative here somewhere. There's the negative. they go to there. There's a relay that just needs to be mounted somewhere here, and that's your switch mechanism. That's the standard switch that comes with it. Nothing special there. Edward has made up a fighter pilot switch bracket which will mount in the cabin. He's got 4 switches on that. We'll use one of those for the connector to that, so we'll show you that when we get to there. So we're up to Super Cheap just to get probably a connector for that rather than use that Deutsch fitting just for that. So we're going to go to Super Cheap. I've got the chauffeur ready to take me. James is going to run me in. Ready to go?
Yep.
We're going to get Edward's parts. Go to Super Cheap, get these connectors. We'll get one of these for the wire, and I don't know where the electrical wire is, but we'll find that too. So bought that switch, and also got a bit of electrical wire. That's just for switches for when I do the fan. I'll talk about that in another video probably, but this will get us out of trouble for the light bar today. Alright, I've got all the connectors and bits and pieces. I originally thought I'd have to get the wires through the connector first and slide the connector down, connect the ends and pull back, but I don't think so. I think I can connect the wires and connect them such that they'll slide in from the back. So I'll have a bit of a fiddle around with that, and I'll come back once we sort of get the ends on. So I'll connect those ends, we'll cut that off and connect the ends, and then we'll get the connectors all lined up. So that's the connector that's already wired up in the harness. As you can see in that one, the 2 flat blades are in that connector, and the piece that connects to it, this is for the light piggyback that I showed earlier. It's got the other 2 pieces. So I'm going to wire this one up the same so that we've got the same arrangement. I presume that'll work out alright. Never done one of these little connector pieces before, but it can't be too hard. And it's as easy as poking them in from the back. Once they're in, they clip in so they cannot move, and both of those are in. Now we need to fit into the other housing, which is that one, the 2 flat pieces. So I'll crimp them, but before I do, I need to cut the end off. Sorry, there we go. Need to cut the end off that. So I'll give myself a bit of wire on down here, so if I want to use that connector again, I guess I can. And we'll connect those 2 flat blades and pop them into that housing there. Right, I've done that. I've put those 2 wires on. I've cut the end off so that's the end I've cut off the wiring harness. I've put that connector on, and on the other end of the light, so there's the light, on the other end I've put that connector on there. Make sure you get red to red and black to black when they join up. On this one I've got enough fingers. That neatly connects to that end there. Red to red, black to black. They'll go in together each, they'll line up. So that now just gives me a connector from my light bar to the rest of the harness. So I'll go and put that on the car, lay it out, and we'll start to wire it up and connect it. Right, I've got this roughly just laid out, so I've got my positive and negative wires here ready to connect up. I've got the relay, it'll go over here somewhere, I'll find a spot for that. I've got the cable to the light bar. I've got the light bar there, and I've got my cable to the headlight unit. I've got the connector for the headlight unit, which I'll plug in a second. So in effect, you just need to be careful, because I've put the same connector on this end and this end. Just need to make sure you've got the right cables going to the right spots, and don't plug them in, because they will plug into the wrong spots, but you won't get any action. I suppose I could have swapped the plugs around so there was no chance of misaligning them, but I didn't, so we just need to make sure we get them in the right spot. Okay, first bit is we're going to connect this in. What I've done is I've just roughed this in roughly into to its locations. So that's the that's the actual light bar. That is the switch. Sorry, that's the light bar. That's the high beam switch. So I've roughed these in roughly into their spots. You can see in the fuse box, there's not, or this is the relay box, there's not a lot of space for a new relay, so I'm just going to have to probably move the battery out of the way and pop that down in there later. For now, I've just got the wires roughed in. First piece is, as I said before, pop that connector off the high beam. That piece is going to go into there, clips in really easily. Hopefully I can get onto the back of the headlight here and connect that. Okay, I think I've got that one connected on, and then this one, I might just bring that forward through the front of the radiator, because we've got the fan and the radiator both off at present. So I'll zip tie these up later. If we come roughly through here and connect that one to that one, that's got that. So we've roughly got that one in. In a second I'm going to mount the light bar, and then all it is a case of positive to positive, negative to negative. I'll get that and we'll test everything when Edward gets home tonight. So that's roughly it. I will finish the wiring. I'll probably bring you back when it's all wired. I'll mount the light bar and we'll go from there, and hopefully tonight we'll give it a bit of a test run. Thanks. Rightio, so that's all wired up. I've got the relay tech screwed to the wall there, got the battery all connected, broke that terminal in the process, so had to buy a new one of those. I've just routed, again I haven't tied anything up, but that switch cable goes through the firewall now. All the headlight connectors on, that's there ready to be plugged in. That's just mocked up at the moment, needs realignment, so we're going to wait till it cools down and gets dark, and then we'll tidy all that up and actually test it. And that's all done now. You can see the light bar on, hit the high beam, it does go off with the low beam and the switch. So I think we can wrap this one up. I've just zip tied sort of most of that out of the way, put the relay on the side wall there, and yeah, all done. Thanks for watching. I'll see you guys in the next video. I don't know what it's going to be. We've got some stuff to do with pulleys on this. You can see we've pulled, actually there's a bit of work going on here, broken bolt in that idler pulley, so next time you might see us having a fiddle around with that timing case. We think it's going to be easier to actually pull the timing case off, but for now I've got the lights working, so I'm happy. Oh, it's pretty dark out here. We're just going to do the final test. What's that, low? High? And is that with the spotlights? I think so. That's, yeah, so that's without light bar. That's with, that's good. I think it does need maybe tilting. Oh, I don't know. Do it again. Yeah, I don't know, it just seems to be maybe aiming a little bit high, but we'll adjust that. Looking good. Righto, well, that'll finish this video up. Thanks.